Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Ninja Batman Hot Pile of Garbage figure. And I only say it's a hot pile of garbage because it's terrible in almost every single way. You're probably thinking yourself, Anthony, I thought you really liked Batman. I do. Anthony, I thought you really liked ninjas and anime. I do. How could this figure be bad? They did everything wrong. Almost every single thing is wrong about this figure. It's really terrible in all but except for maybe 1.5 ways. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 17 centimeters to the top of his bat ears, which makes him just about 6 5/8 inches tall. So he's not too short. He's a relatively sizable figure for being an SH Figuarts, though many of them have been relatively sizable lately. So, I mean, I guess it's got that going for it. It's a relatively large figure, but that's not good enough. The only thing that's truly good on this figure is the paint job. It's really clean. It looks nice. You can see we have different shades of gray in there. We have all the gold accents, some purple, lots of line work, a little bit of orange down there. It's all done really nicely. So the paint job is aces, no problem there. And then the sculpt job is halfway great. You can see for the chest and like the shoulders, there's a little bit of like a mesh underneath. You know what? Let's get this terrible piece of garbage cape out of the way. So if you look here, you'll be able to see this mesh that's all throughout the figure. It's very nicely done. The armor plating is nicely done. The skirt plate's nicely done. The boots are okay. So that half of the sculpt is good. But then we come down to here, these baggy pants, which are completely symmetrical. They did not change the sculpt from side to side. Okay, so that's not true. It's a mirror, okay? So it's a mirrored image. So it's not the exact same, but it's not like flowing in any way because they're completely the same on either side, just mirrored. And maybe most people won't notice that, but I did, and it shouldn't be that way. You can get away with it for armor and even anatomy sometimes, but when you have something like baggy clothes, it really shouldn't be the same on both sides because it looks totally off. Especially the way they sculpted it, where it's so baggy in the middle that you can't bring his legs together. You know how uncomfortable it would be to stand with your legs farther apart than your shoulders all the time? It's not a good look. It's not a good look for Batman. So that's it for the good stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. We have this cape, which is the worst offender of being a terrible cape maybe ever. It's one hard hunk of plastic connected to another hard hunk of plastic connected to another hard hunk of plastic. And you might be thinking, well, it looks okay if you pose it like that. And you're probably right, it looks okay. But as soon as you try to pose it in any way, shape, or form other than completely neutral, it looks absolutely ridiculous. And that is not good. It's also way too big for the figure, considering the fact that the figure has absolutely terrible proportions. So it doesn't really serve any purpose. It's ugly in almost every way. It's difficult to pose with it because it's so damn big and bulky. It's just it's an eyesore. It's kind of cool the way they kind of made it line up here. It does sit in place properly, but unless you're just going to have him stand like that, it's not going to be a nice cape to have. As soon as you go to do anything with it, it's awkward and clumsy, and it weighs him down incredibly terribly. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. It's not effective. It's not attractive. It's not effective. It's oogly. Plus, it hides all the sculpt work that I was just telling you is actually pretty good. So we're going to keep the cape off because we don't like that. The other accessories include 2 heads. We have the one neutral head that comes on in the package, and then we have one yelling head, which does look pretty good. We have a few different hands. We have the 2 fist hands that come on in the package, 2 different sets of gripping hands, 2 gripping / style pose hands, 2 katana scabbard gripping hands, and then 2 kind of relaxed hands. And I want to point out, the hands are huge on this guy. He's got some boxing glove sized hands. A little bit weird. We do, of course, have his katana then, which does have a scabbard that it goes into, so that's kind of cool, but no place to put the scabbard on his body. He has to just hold it. And then we have 2 kunai with little bat symbols on them, which are okay. So the accessories are acceptable. However, since the hands are kind of bad and there's no place to put the scabbard, accessories aren't that good. Now it's time to get into the bad stuff. We have the articulation. I kind of lied. Some of it's okay. For the head, for instance, we have a double ball peg on top of the neck, which allows the head to move freely in any direction you want. And then the neck is also on a ball peg, so you can move the head pretty nicely. I like that. For the shoulders, we have just a big ball peg, essentially, that moves around this whole area. This is essentially just a floating piece, as far as I can tell. It might be connected, but it just moves around with however you move the shoulder. So there's that. And then we have a hinge inside the shoulder, which is obviously the worst design ever, and they keep doing it, and I keep saying, stop that, and they keep saying, no, we're going to keep doing it, and then you get range like this. Ninja Batman can't raise his arm. How is that okay? It's not. It's the same thing they did for Akuma, Ryu and Ken too, but not to the same extent. You can't put the hinge inside the shoulder. You end up with gapping, which they tried to hide, and because they did that, you have zero range. This is what I'm worried about for the next Broly. They showed it's the exact same type of hinge here, so it could end up being really, really bad. You do, of course, get your full rotation. You get a little bit of swivel up there, but then they also put a cut joint in, which is completely ugly. So that's that. Double jointed elbow gives you 90 degrees and sticks the elbow pad out in the middle of nowhere. Very ugly. Ball hinge wrists, which are absolutely useless because the hands are freaking humongous and the ball hinge is completely recessed. You can't even see it, which means you can't use it. For the torso, I'm not exactly sure. It could be a double, but I think it's a single ball peg for the upper torso. It leans back pretty well. I think it's actually a double, my bad. Double ball peg for the top. Single ball peg down here. It does lean forward and back though, well enough. Side to side, not really at all. Rotation, a little bit, but it's super stiff. And then the lower torso is a single ball peg, which gives you all kinds of range. Really far forward and back. There is gapping though. Side to side's okay, and then rotation. Floating belt piece is soft and relatively floaty, but it doesn't really move at all. So I'm thinking maybe it's connected in there somewhere that I can't see. This is not my figure, I'm borrowing it, so I can't tear it apart to look in there, but it seems like it's just a really stiff, floaty piece. And then for the hips, we have hinged ball pegs, although the hinge doesn't... It has like 1 millimeter of range, so it doesn't accomplish anything, really. However, you can still raise the leg up pretty far forward and pretty far back, so that's pretty good. And then going out to the sides, yeah, better than some figures, so it's okay. Thigh swivel is very minimal. Double jointed knee, really ugly. Almost not ugly, but because of the minimal range, yeah, I guess it's okay. If you kind of finagle it, it doesn't look too bad. So I'll give them a little bit of credit there. That's okay. And then for the ankles, you have a hinge, which gives you virtually no range. Then you have an ankle rocker, which gives you almost no range. Then you have a toe hinge, which goes all the way. Toe hinge is probably the best designed hinge, or best designed joint on this figure. Also, look how shiny and ugly those pants are. This figure is a mess. An absolute mess. I guess I shouldn't say absolute, because the paints are good. So it's an almost absolute mess. I couldn't be less interested in a Batman thing than this. The one from Mattel, we don't know yet, of course, but it looks, if nothing else, it looks leagues better than this. And based on how crappy this articulation is, I can't imagine they're going to do too much worse than that. So I'm thinking the Mattel one is the way to go as of right now. I did think the Figma of this guy looked a little bit better than this one, but I don't have that to review, so I can't say. But even still, the Mattel one looks better than that. So for me, this is a huge, huge, huge pass. Don't buy it no matter what. It's not very good at all in any way other than the paint. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, you may want to subscribe, because I do have new videos up just about every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.